All the other disciples stayed in the boat. Peter was the only one who said, Jesus, if it's really you, tell me to come out to you and I'll come. And Jesus says, come on. And so as he steps out, he starts to sink, but only after he had the courage to step onto the water in the first place. Jesus shows us what it looks like to walk forward with him right into a storm. Because here's the thing, faith does not just anchor you and me, it also moves you and me. And sometimes the greatest step of faith is not building something that cannot fall. It's stepping into something that feels so unsteady. Here's the way that Jesus put it. He said, when evening came, he was there alone. But the boat by this time was a long way from the land, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the fourth watch of the night, he came to them walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, it's a ghost. And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid. Peter answered them, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. He said, come. So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. And beginning to sink, he cried. Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took hold of him, saying, O you of little faith, why did you doubt? And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshiped him, saying, truly, you are the Son of God. Now, if you've been a church person for a while, you have these sort of stereotypes in your head about different characters in the Bible. So let's jump into the stereotype that we have about Peter. If you've been a church person for a while, you know Peter is the one that's kind of brash. He speaks first and thinks second. So you can look at a moment like this and be like, classic Peter, bold move followed by quick failure, you know? But here's the thing, this is not a story of failure. It's a picture of sincere faith. It's a picture of someone whose default action was obedience, even imperfect obedience, which, good news, that's going to be your and my kind of obedience as well. It's a picture of what real faith looks like when it's still learning to walk, which is what all of our faith is. All the other disciples stayed in the boat. Peter was the only one who said, Jesus, if it's really you, tell me to come out to you and I'll come. And Jesus says, come on. And so as he steps out, he starts to sink, but only after he had the courage to step onto the water in the first place. Jesus didn't let him sink. He didn't wait to make a point. He reached out right away. And his question, why did you doubt? It wasn't an accusation. It was more like, Peter, do you really think that I was going to walk on water, that I was going to come from eternity past, that I was going to live perfectly human and perfectly God in the moment to become the living sacrifice for your eternal need, and that I was going to let you drown in a moment after I asked you to walk out of the boat? Really? That's what misplaced fear looks like. It makes us forget who Jesus is. It makes us forget what he's already done. It makes us forget our place in relationship with him. But even in our fear, he is still close to us. He still reaches out. So don't be too hard on Peter. He walked on water, and when he sank, he reached for the right person. Maybe that's exactly what faith looks like for you today. So who are you in this scene? Maybe you're still in the boat. You're watching, waiting, maybe even worshiping, but you have not taken a step out. You've not taken a step of faith. Maybe not for a long time, maybe never. You want to believe, but you're cautious. You want to guarantee before you disrupt your comfort, before you commit. You're asking, what if I mess this up? What if I fail? What if I look silly in the process? But maybe Jesus is inviting you to trust him first and see the results later. That might be forgiving someone before they apologize. It might mean trusting God with your finances through consistent generosity, even when you can't see how it will all work. It might mean getting baptized today, not because you feel ready, but because you've never been baptized and you've chosen to follow Jesus and you can just sense he's calling you to get baptized. Or maybe you're out on the water. You've already said yes. You've stepped out. Maybe it was years ago, maybe it was days ago, but it's not easy. The wind is loud, the waves are real, and it's harder than you expected. You're not sinking yet, but you're tired. You started with boldness, but now you are second guessing. Maybe you got a hard conversation started, or you made a big move of faith in your life, and now you wonder if you heard God correctly. If that's where you are, don't give up. Keep your eyes on Jesus. Return to the last clear word that God gave you, the last clear instruction that he asked you to take, and spend time with God in prayer around that he might remind you of his faithfulness. Some of us feel like we are sinking but reaching. You said yes at some point, but life hit hard. You saw the wind. You felt overwhelmed, unsure if you were going to make it. But here's the good news. You're still reaching, and that counts. Maybe your relationship is falling apart right now. Anxiety is falling on you right now. Maybe you feel like you're drowning in fear or disappointment or disillusionment. If that's where you are, good news. You are not alone. You cry out, Lord, save me. That prayer still works just as well today as it did all those years ago. Jesus did not let Peter go under the water, and he will not let you either. Talk to someone today. Let the church carry you while you catch your breath. That's what the church is supposed to do. Jesus is closer than you think. And here at Menlo, I know that there are some of you who are worshiping back in the boat. You have seen what God can do in your life. You stepped out. You walked through something really difficult. You navigated painful opportunities throughout your life, maybe over the course of decades. And now you are on the other side. You're full of gratitude. But here's my encouragement. Don't stop now. That if you still have a pulse, God still has a plan. If you are still breathing, God is still working. Ask God, who can I help step out now? Maybe your next act of worship is sharing your story with someone, encouraging someone who is struggling, starting something new, something else in your life that God's calling you to. You don't know this, but maybe there's somebody in your life who might need your rescue story to find courage for their first step in their journey with God. No matter where you find yourself in a story like this one, God is with you. And there is a step for you to take in the story that God is writing with your life. If your faith feels shaky today, remember that the faith that acts is the faith that lasts, beginning to take a step of obedience, even if it's a small one. It was true 2,000 years ago, and it's still true today.